It's rolling good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the new truck, Chris, and why you're calling my wife, why it's making you contact my wife all the time.
So I got a new truck. And in my phone, when I say now I don't have the things on my vehicle, the GPS, it's just on my phone. It has Apple CarPlay. So I say, call my wife. And I had your wife on there as Chloe, Matthew's wife. So it calls your wife when I say call my wife.
Nice. That's good.
And I have, so
listen,
it's happened 2 or 3 times.
She is my wife, That is kind of...
Stop calling my wife.
Stop. Come on, Chris.
Come on.
You keep calling my wife.
God.
You keep calling my wife. I don't know what to think anymore. She was in Canada. You were in Nashville. What kind of a bizarre, star-crossed love affair? And I feel like I'm the bad guy. I'm getting in the way. I'm like the Juliet's dad. Except it's kind of like if I were Romeo and Romeo's dad was trying to seduce Juliet, sort of, to a certain extent. Romeo's the older cousin, I guess. So the age dynamic is different. It's not I'm just saying it's not a clear-cut Romeo-Juliet dynamic, is my point.
No, because if I kill myself.
Right.
And then, she doesn't even know me, so she's still with you. So
yes.
You guys go on and live.
It's and I'm like, Chloe, you'll never believe it. Chris killed himself. And she'll be like, well, that's horrible. I'm like, it must be because of that truck that he bought. Yeah, I know. That's making him call you all the time. So
yeah, it's terrible.
Don't get a new truck. Whatever you do.
That's what we've come out of.
This is a bicycle. This is a cyclist podcast. We're big. We're like these Democrat urbanist guys.
Right.
We like dressing up as dogs. Yeah. We love going out to the dog park.
You knew that about me.
Well, both of us together. You and my wife, and she's walking you.
This has gotten weird.
Or you're walking her. You never see that dynamic where the man is walking a female, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah. It got weird.
Welcome to Baste Records.
Welcome to Baste Records,
hey, everybody.
Guys.
Become a member.
Yeah. It'll be awesome. Don't get a new truck. Don't come at us with a new truck.
So the election was yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. And what an election it was.
Yeah, popular vote, clear popular vote winner, Trump. Everybody online from the so-called far right saying that they were going to not endorse Trump. They were going to vote for Kamala Harris. Trump was too, close to Israel. Trump was too soft on immigration. Who knows what these people were complaining about. They've been proven to be completely and utterly irrelevant, and the MAGA base has been proven to be stronger, bigger, better, more inclusive than ever. You're talking about record turnout among specifically Hispanic men, where something like a majority of Hispanic men in Texas are now voting Trump. I think you told me something like a county that hasn't voted.
Star, Texas.
Oh yeah,
Star County, Texas. They haven't had a Republican candidate, hadn't voted for a Republican candidate since 1892.
That's a while.
I
don't even know.
I was a kid,
For some reason, I only know that in 1876, Samuel Tilden had the election stolen from him.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know who the real president was that beat him. Chester MacArthur? Was it McKinley? Actually, 1892. Who was 1892? Give us, Max, tell us who the president was in 1892. And maybe we can get some pictures of the presidential candidates. We can talk about who was better looking.
And there is actually Fall River, Massachusetts, 100 years ago. It was the same thing. They hadn't had a Republican candidate in 100 years, and I think that was Coolidge.
Since Coolidge for Fall River? 23rd president? 23rd president in 1892?
Yeah, Benjamin Harrison.
You know what's interesting about Benjamin Harrison, though, is that he, at least this is if I remember correctly, Benjamin Harrison was actually somebody who lost the popular vote but won the Electoral College. He was one of
wow.
back in the late 1800s. He had a couple. I think it was Benjamin Harrison and either his grandfather or his grandson. Anyway, so all that being said, everybody was talking about Trump potentially losing the popular, but winning the electoral again in the same fashion like he did in 2016.
Right.
Not the case.
Well, and also, I mean, it's so glaring to me. Kamala was a terrible candidate. I mean, the fact that their entire campaign was based on her not talking to the press
Awesome.
or the people that much at all tells you how ridiculous they knew she was coming across.
Yeah, there's a especially because she was the Democratic Party's candidate, and the media coverage would have been wonderful. They literally edited interviews that she conducted
it's true.
to make her appear less rambling and incoherent. So she could have done whatever. It's a shame. How bad must she had been?
Oh, yeah.
That they couldn't even get her on for a 15-minute appearance on
something.
Yeah,
and it's so crazy to me. But I will say this though, it wasn't that dumb of them
to throw out Biden.
Because if she was my person, I wouldn't want her out in the wild either.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, because it worked for Biden. He stayed in the basement.
Yeah, but Biden's likable. He's the kind of guy. He's in the basement. You're like, I hope he feels better. I hope he gets out of that basement and he gives me a big old hug. Maybe not like if I'm a little girl, but I hope if I'm an adult man.
You a little bit.
I don't want him to smell me. Well, I hope I shower before Joe Biden sees me. Is my point, and I hope he brings me a big ice cream cone. I think we're just describing somebody who molests children.
And if you were a baby, he would bite you.
And he would bite me. He would bite my foot.
Yes.
He would bite my foot. But, that's I mean, sometimes I kind of understand, but if it's not your baby, it's kind of a strange thing to do. I think, at a certain point, it's like a jazz musician, right?
Yeah.
You can only kiss so many babies when you're a politician. This guy has been in the Senate, I think, since the 70s. Or since the 80s? No, I think since the 70s. So imagine all the babies this guy has had to kiss. You have to riff. You have to go out there. You have to find a blue note here and there, and sometimes you're sniffing a kid, okay? Yeah. Sometimes you're giving a kid ice cream. Sometimes you're biting a baby's foot. Sometimes there's something happening, you and a stepdaughter or a granddaughter in a shower, whatever. The point is, Joe Biden, a great American hero, nominated Kamala Harris, who he must have known was a horrible candidate. The Biden presidency, they made her the border czar. They gave her no power.
And what a great job she did.
Incredible. Well, she, but when you think about it, more people than ever came. So if that was the intention, she killed it.
That is true. That is true. And she did garner 2% in the original primary.
Yes.
But, she got 2% of the vote.
Well, she had two different campaign chairs. She had a campaign chair in San Francisco and a campaign chair in D.C. And when she conceded yesterday, she all but conceded.
Yeah.
It wasn't official. She sent out some guy.
I heard there was a phone call today. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we know anything about that. I know that there was supposed to be a phone call. She called Trump today. I don't know what was said, but
thank God no one's going to be biting any more baby feet in this office. And they made a solemn vow to never buy a truck or bite an infant's foot ever again in the White House. Baste Records. Become a member today.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And she was she had the race they wanted. She had the gender they wanted.
Presumably.
The DEI candidate. She didn't have the substance. There was nothing there. It doesn't matter what race she was. It doesn't matter what color she was. There was nothing there. Therefore, I say she was the bro country of presidential candidates.
Yeah, she was the bro country of intersectionality.
Yes.
Right? She was so
Don't ask me to spell that, but yes.
Yes. No, I understand what you're saying. There's a certain kind of intersectional axis where it becomes so contrived. There's nothing at all, mainstream about her, let's say. There's nothing at all majoritarian. She doesn't have like a loving gaggle of children, for example. There's nothing that a normal, let's say, father from a 1980 sitcom or a 1960 sitcom can recognize in Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
and therefore I understand what you're saying. She's very formulaic in the way that bro country is.
Well, yeah, and it's like you can have a song that is a great song that sounds like bro country, has all the stuff in, but it's still a great song, and then you can have another song that says nothing, and that just uses the same loop, is around the same tempo, but the songwriting chops aren't there. It doesn't hit as hard as the original song. It's the same way as old outlaw.
Okay.
There's a lot of outlaw country. They call themselves outlaw country, except all they're doing is copying the original outlaw country. That doesn't make you outlaw. That you're copying someone else. That's the opposite.
What do you think? So aesthetically, what was talking archetypes? What's the ultimate archetypal outlaw country? You're designing it in a lab. You're making the perfect outlaw country singer. Give me some traits. What does this person look like?
Well, it was the way I would see it would be they don't really care what you think that they look like. They don't really care. They're singing songs about things they believe in and that they're going through right now, and that reflects them as an artist and a person. That used to be just an artist. Like I always say that, but the original Outlaws, they didn't have to call themselves outlaws.
Well,
everyone else did, and they were unhinged. They were a little bit unhinged.
For our audience, tell us,
Well, you're Waylon, you're Johnny Cash's, these guys. I mean, they were shunned by country.
Sure.
Some of it, especially Johnny, and then they, the iconic picture of him shooting a little bird when they, tried to bring him back in. And because once you get true fans that are just ravenous for what you do, everything that you put out, because your beliefs and your music is so, it's just so you and authentic, because that's where you get true fans, is being authentic, and they love that. So instead of actually going and the trends and things that are happening now, and maybe it's not what you would sing, and it comes off disingenuous, and it's to me that's the difference between great artists and just artists.
Well, and to kind of wrap this all up in a bow. The issue with Kamala was that she was an empty vessel for power, just in the same way that so many, you can call them bro country, you can call them country pop, you can call them I have a huge truck country. I know that's what I like.
every song.
In every song. It's good. Well, and look what happens. You call your coworker's wife.
Yeah, that's what happens.
You
big
kill
trucks.
yourself.
It changed me.
You start
I got a big
biting
truck,
infant
and that's what
feet.
happens.
It's tough. Anyway, but I guess the point I'm really trying to make is in the same way that Kamala could be sort of this totemized empty vessel for intersectionality, what we on the right would call, let's say, DEI.
Right.
Art, so much of art today is an empty vessel for money, right? For money, for fame, for some kind of commercial success, because executives in this industry are formulaic in their approach. In the same way that the song is formulaic, the formula for success in marketing an artist is also contrived. There's very little imagination anymore because there's so much incentive financially to ensure that an artist breaks open. Ironically, they treat it kind of like growing a tree or agriculture, right? They treat it like, or maybe more mechanistically, the way that you would treat an assembly line. But that's not what art is. That's not what a person is. So you see a guy like Morgan Wallen, and he's so huge, right?
Massive.
But he's so huge precisely because in the midst of his earlier controversies, he basically became ungovernable. He became like a wild weed that they couldn't control.
And there's a lot of artists actually that are coming up now that came out, the way I said, they came in the back door because...
Not that way. Not like that.
Yeah, let's not.
There's a lot of, I want to confound
You do whatever
anything.
you want to do. We're just...
don't do that.
You come into country music however you want to come in.
I don't agree.
Okay,
Sorry, keep going. No, I'm just kidding.
So, as far as was not Luke Bryan, Luke Combs. Luke Combs, he couldn't get arrested here before he popped off at TikTok and did some other things. And it was the same way with Eric Church. Eric Church, he couldn't get a record deal, but he got such. He went on the road so much and got such a massive audience that were ravenous for. They followed him everywhere, and they bought all of his stuff. He had real fans.
Right.
It become like everybody wanted him then because he became that himself, and that's happening a lot. Zach Top, it's happening to Zach Top right now.
Sure.
And Zach Top's blowing up, and if Zach Top were to go after a record deal, I truly believe this. He's great, don't get me wrong, but they would try to make him change. Literally, you got to shave that mustache.
Mustaches are in though.
I know.
People don't realize.
I may grow. Just kind of
you want
change this whole setup.
I would keep it all. I would just, you just have like a nice extension, a little handlebar mustache on top of it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's saying that you can't let the whiskers fly free.
Yeah. I could graft some of my locks.
Or you could go to Turkey. You could request like a reverse hair surgery, right? Because you already have hair on your head, right? So you want to take the hair from your head to other parts of your body, theoretically.
We'll look into it.
Baste Records.
Baste Records. Hair grafting.
Hair grafting in Turkey. Remember that. But, again, another politician who fundamentally never followed any kind of set formula was Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And speaking of presidents from the 1800s, President Donald Trump, the first president since Grover Cleveland to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Grover Cleveland was, of course, a Democrat.
Right.
And, of course, there were lots of shenanigans in his own party. I think they prevented him from running for a second term.
Oh, wow.
He got Joe Biden'd, essentially.
Wow.
By the way, I want to ask you about it. I think Biden would have been a superior candidate. I think he would have been really giving Trump a run for his money. I don't think we would actually have a clear winner today.
I agree. I still think Trump would win just because of all the things that have happened. But I agree that he would have done way better than Kamala.
For sure.
I think that he has such a history. He has 50 years of people that to help him and just a huge backlog of backers that he's had for years, and I think they did him dirty. I really do, and I try not to feel bad for Joe Biden, but I kind of do. I kind of feel like he got shafted, and the next 90 days until they let Trump in is going to be very awkward.
Well, Joe Biden's got this grouchy, Alzheimer's alpha energy that's very difficult to replicate. When he says, "Hey, come on, Jack," there's something decisive about that. He doesn't know where he is necessarily, but you know that he's not going to let you go corn pop on him.
Don't be going corn pop on somebody.
Yeah, he's going to take his bicycle chain and he's going to show you what's going on at the neighborhood
Joe,
pool.
you're about to meet Scranton Joe.
Scranton Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I was reading something the other day about how I can't remember what I was reading. My mind just
Joe Biden.
I was talking about Joe Biden, and he entered my body.
It's kind of like the Holy Spirit.
It kind of did. It's not holy, and it's more spirit than holy.
Jack,
hey, you listen.
come on,
man.
Come on, man. Come on. Well, listen, his son, I mean, he's got a cool son. He's got a handsome, cool son. Did a lot of drugs.
Somebody should write a song about that.
I don't know.
Because Hunter got high. I don't know if you.
If he got high, that's a great. That reminds me of an Afro Man song, Because I Got High.
Maybe we should do something to. It might go viral.
If only we thought of this a year ago.
Yeah, it would be at like 2 or 3 million views probably, and top 10 and Billboard
on some Billboard chart. Well, maybe we don't know. That's purely hypothetical.
That's true. That probably won't happen at all.
Come on.
Oh man!
Subscribe to Baste Records. Baste Records.
Yeah, every time there's a lull. Baste Records. Subscribe.
Anytime we're talking about these people with these bizarre fetishes, biting infant feet, your ghost truck, that could be a great bro country song. My ghost truck won't leave you alone.
Because it has automatic driver on it where it parks, but it only knows her house, so it automatically goes to her house.
That's so funny.
So even his truck left him to go back to her.
But it's not even his ex. It's not even his ex-fiance. It's like some 82-year-old woman
that used to own the truck before him.
Yeah, no, not even. She used to have like a lease agreement with the auto dealership, and it transferred. It's not the same car, but it's covered by the same warranty. And her name is Consuela. And yeah, it just goes to her house.
Now I'm going to have to rhyme Consuela
with Venezuela.
Consuela from Venezuela.
Consuela from Venezuela. And she had
close enough.
She didn't have any direct descendants, so she wanted to, for some reason, gift her lease agreement. She had a very good legacy lease agreement with a Toyota dealership.
It's kind of getting deep now in this. Yeah,
it's very specific. I mean, listen, you're the songwriter here.
Yeah, I try to make it work.
I have a vision. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and I need you to build it. I need somebody to get into the minutia of how contracts work when you're leasing a truck.
Yeah.
They don't talk about that in bro country.
They don't. They don't talk about that at all.
They always say, "This is my truck." They never ask, "Why is my truck?"
You know what I have against a lot of bro country songs is they always talk about the cool things about, this little land that no one knows about, and they go out and there's ponds, like they get in ponds and they lakes and stuff like that. They never talk about leeches.
That's true.
There's lots of leeches.
Well, maybe they're looking for them.
Yeah, they never talk about soot in ponds.
That's true.
That gets all over. There's all kinds of stuff that they never talk about.
Well, they never talk about balancing the 5 humors. One of which, of course, is blood. Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, why leeches are so important. Talk to any phlebotomist from the 1400s, mind you. Maybe not today. But they're going to tell you how important going into a marsh, finding some leeches, how important that is for balancing your humors. And I think that that's a real issue that they
That's
don't
why
talk
she's
about.
dating him, because she thinks he's going to be a doctor
Exactly.
that works with leeches.
Why else would he be swimming in all of these marshes? And they don't talk about that in Bro Country.
Marshes.
Listen, Marsha.
Yeah.
Marsha in the marshes looking for her MD. Marshall.
Yeah.
Right? It writes itself.
Yeah.
That's how the hits, that's how
Baste records.
Baste records.
Everybody.
That's how we write the hits. Phlebotomy marsh from leeches. You know that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And speaking of bloodsuckers, what do you think Trump is going to do to the swamp? Do you think that he's
Oh,
going
my
to bring
gosh.
Elon Musk in? And,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean, and well, just his whole team is amazing. It really does kind of have the Avengers of
oh yeah.
of a campaign team.
I don't know. I just, I like Trump. You know what I mean? Tulsi Gabbard, she's like okay.
You don't trust her, do you?
I don't
you think
trust her.
because, I know you. You think because she came from the other side, she's a plant.
I'm very paranoid. I'm
I
very
know,
paranoid
I know.
about Tulsi Gabbard. Especially, you have to remember how deep blue Hawaii is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about, like a blue dog Democrat from Montana, and maybe they grew up around Republicans. You're talking about somebody who's literally thousands of miles away from the closest Republican at any given time. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, she was an Iraq war veteran. I mean, I like her. There's nothing wrong. I don't know if I like her. There's nothing wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? I have nothing against her per se.
it's the streak.
It's the streak.
It's the streak in her hair.
Does she have a streak in her hair?
Oh yeah,
What color is it?
it's like blonde, isn't it? Or is it white?
Can we have a visual of Calvin Coolidge and also of Tulsi Gabbard's streak in her hair? Just so
Yeah,
we
it
have
all
some-
goes together.
I
Yeah.
want the continuity. Just make sure you put this in your producer's notes, Max. I really want to see. Calvin Coolidge. I thought he was very handsome for his day. Back when he won. Back when he. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Warren Harding. Coolidge was not handsome. He was the governor of Massachusetts, which is why he won that region in Massachusetts you were talking about. But
Right.
sorry, I'm confused. Never mind. Well, anyway, now you
Did
have
he
a
have a streak in his hair?
no,
Oh,
and
he
so
did
that's
not.
why this image that you're looking at now of Calvin Coolidge on the screen,
Yeah.
completely irrelevant. Very
Yeah.
sorry about that. Anyway, what color is Tulsi Gabbard's streak? Is it blonde?
No.
It's blonde.
It's blonde. Yeah, I just
Yep.
don't like that. I think it's unbecoming.
Yeah.
I think it's unbecoming of a head of state to have a streak,
I don't know.
or
I
a
think
person in government.
I think it may bring in some young people though.
The streak,
I think so.
but she's not going streaking. It's just a streak in her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
The former, I think, would help a lot.
Yeah. Well.
For,
maybe.
for
yeah.
I don't know for who, but it would
Right.
it would get the people talking,
Right.
and maybe that would somehow we would end all the wars if that happened.
We would. That would end the streak.
It would end the
The
streak
war.
of foreign intervention.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's where the streak comes.
That's where the streak comes from. That's actually how the word streak came into being,
Exactly.
because someone was like, I really want to invade Guam. And then somebody else said, you know what they have in Guam? They have really good streak. And they said,
So that's what happens when somebody like streaks on a football field or
Right.
a soccer field. They're invading Guam
they're invading Guam every time.
in their mind.
In
as
their
they're
mind.
doing that, and
Well,
then they get tackled.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just because like how you put tackle on to go fishing.
Yes.
Right.
It's all. It all makes sense.
There's good fishing.
Based records.
Based records.
Yeah.
Go fishing in Polynesia. Get a license, though. We're not endorsing unlicensed fishing in
No.
American overseas territories.
No,
I'm
that's
sure
wrong.
that's a felony if we endorse that. So
Yeah,
we don't.
probably, yeah. We
do
will
not do that.
Don't. Yeah. That's terrible.
That's awful. I think. Is it awful?
I don't know.
I don't know. I imagine. But then there are so many fish in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, how many endangered species are there? You know what I saw, by the way? And it's completely unrelated. But you know what demographic was most pro-Trump this election? Apparently, Native Americans.
Really?
Or as they
My
like to-
people.
Yeah, your people. That's right. You're part Cherokee.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's why you're here. That's why you're so based. But 64%,
Maybe, yeah.
64% of Native Americans went for Trump.
I did not know that.
10% more
I like
than
that.
white voters, by the way.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that evidently, now 20% of, was it 20%? What was it? Was it Georgia and
North
Carolina? 20% black men voted for Trump.
That's pretty big. Well, and it's funny. I was following the Twitterverse, and people were saying on Twitter, "Oh, Trump is overperforming with black men. Therefore, there must be a systemic polling error." I was seeing all sorts of pessimism. Like, if he's overperforming by that much, it must be indicative of the polls being wrong in his favor. They were talking about that. And Ann Seltzer released a poll with Harris winning Iowa, a 9-point swing relative to her previous poll, and Kamala Harris winning Iowa, and, just didn't happen.
I said this earlier. I cannot wait till the next election and someone starts saying, well, you know what the polls are saying.
Right.
It's going to be hilarious.
Well, but sometimes this is the thing about polling and pollsters and everybody who does intellectual work. I feel like people who do that type of statistical analysis, they live, let's say, in New York, or they live in California. They've been surrounded by academic institutions for all of their lives. They've never known a regular person. And so literally, they don't know how to interact with a regular person.
Right.
There's something qualitative that they're missing, where even if you find a supposedly representative sample of people, and you'll say, well, this so-and-so person is, has the right gender characteristics, such and such person is the right age or the right race for the sampling or whatever, the people that you're predisposed to find, you're going to find them as a result of your bubble tainting it in one way or another.
Right.
I think that you're never really going to be able to find a truly representative sample. It's going to be more and more difficult as identities get more and more sequestered, where even the content that you watch, like if you're watching Joe Rogan, if you're watching, Call Her Daddy,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're just in a completely different universe of other content, right? If somebody came onto this video because they were specifically looking for, I don't know, they wanted to train to be a phlebotomist, or they wanted to buy a Toyota, which, by the way, we've already covered. You could definitely buy a Toyota sedan, but probably not a truck, because you'll end up biting a child's. Anyway, you'll just scroll back, and we'll put a timestamp to kind of give some context to our opinion there.
It's important.
It is important. But they're never going to find us, right? I mean,
Right.
they're going to be like, what's going on?
For me, that's always been my view on polls, because I'm from the South, Tennessee. All my friends, most of them are conservative. Every time that I see someone talking about a poll, for me, what that means is no one I've ever met, because I don't know of anyone that has actually consistently been part of polls. And I've asked a bunch of people, they don't ask people like me to be in polls.
Sure.
And where I'm from. So when I hear somebody talk, well, the polls say this, oh, you mean nobody I know or no one who thinks like I do? That's what you're talking about when you say polls. Because the majority of people who, and polls can be so subjective on who's doing them, and it's just, I don't see how, and we just found out that they were completely wrong.
Atlas was pretty good. Like there are these pollsters that,
Yeah.
and they'll always show the Republicans are up regardless of the race. And so it's questionable how helpful are they really. I mean,
Right.
2012, Romney was, for example, he was supposed to win Colorado. He was supposed to
Right.
win all of these states that he
Mm-hmm.
didn't make any sense. So all of those polls had Trump winning and sweeping all of the swing states and so on. I mean, I remember actually early in this cycle, they were talking about Trump being within striking distance of New Jersey.
Right.
And 4%. New Jersey was only 4% away.
Wow.
Virginia, beginning of the night last night, because we're filming this on the 6th.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be dating the video, although we're probably releasing it today. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Virginia was looking like it was going to be in the Republican win column. So think about that. Trump was never supposed to be anywhere close to Virginia, to New Jersey, even, by the way, New York State, closer to a Republican win than Texas was to a Democrat win.
Some people were saying Kamala was going to sweep all of the swing states.
Well, that is kind of the second most likely option, right? If there's a systemic polling error one way,
Right.
there could be one the other way.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like if you looked at Nate Silver, and a lot of people don't like Nate Silver so much, but I like him a lot, actually. I like the statistical. He's a compulsive gambler. He's a gambling addict, in my opinion. Okay, I'm not saying this is not defamatory. I don't mean to, this is just an opinion. In my opinion, Nate Silver is a shameless gambling addict, and he brings that quantitative cope,
Right.
right? I can always win this. I can always take this next hand. He brings that into his political analysis. And so you have all of this, he had this very elaborate model where basically Kamala Harris won like 50.014% of the time. So it was just a nonsense model that meant absolutely nothing. But if you look at all these hedging, it's kind of impossible to imagine a way that the polls show them tied and they're breaking just for one reason or another randomly, right? Like it kind of always had to be wrong in one of the candidates' favor.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like either the abortion issue was really going to push it over the top for Kamala, or every single other issue was going to push it over the top for Trump.
Right.
Like every other issue, right? So, and by the way, not to say that we had a huge pro-life song, so obviously,
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
we're no lovers.
Rachel Holt, I was going to be. Go find it.
Baste
Buy it.
Records,
Baste Records.
but that's a serious Baste record.
That is, yeah.
Because
That's a real Baste
That's a
record,
real
yeah.
song. That's a real. You have to. There's a little bit of nuance, a little bit of nuance. If I'm not talking about dressing up like a dog and being walked by my wife after a Romeo Juliet rewrite, that's not serious. But
If you didn't understand what he just said, you missed
something in the beginning.
a thing in the
Did
beginning.
we edit that out? Is that still in the final?
We don't know
Max,
yet,
are
yeah.
you going to edit that? Don't even tell us.
Yeah.
Make it a surprise.
Yeah.
I hope that you keep this part in and not that part in.
So people will go looking for it.
And they won't find it.
And they won't find it.
But we'll keep feeding them ads over and over again every time you scroll back right on the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not that I want that to happen to our listeners.
No.
I love our
Probably won't. So go ahead and look for it.
But don't look too often.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is, in terms of when you're talking about this polling, it was always going to break one way or the other
Right.
because of how hedged and all the herding that Nate Silver said it was happening, where basically everybody was converging on Trump +2, Kamala +3. It never gets there's no real substantial difference, right?
Well, and also that it doesn't really matter until you get to the end anyway. There's like Kamala has this huge lead over here. There's 3% of the votes in.
Right, exactly.
They make this big. They have to do that for television forever. But it's just funny that how they do that, and it's like, well, it doesn't really matter what they're
Right.
talking about. Doesn't matter because it's 3% of the vote is in. So
Right. Well, listen, I was afraid even when 95% of the vote was in for Pennsylvania. I was like, okay, and now they're going to stop counting.
Well, even 100%, if they're history shows that.
Well, at 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m. they
things
might
could happen.
Yeah, 300,000 ballots in Michigan might just appear. Like
Exactly.
You might never. I'm not. By the way, not saying that anything was stolen. Not saying that it wasn't a completely legitimate. Listen, Joe Biden in 2020, the strongest American contender we've ever had in the history of the country. I think you would agree.
Yeah.
The best. 81 million votes. The best to ever do it.
20 million more than what Kamala just got?
Listen, in my opinion, that's not suspicious. I'll tell you why. One reason, Joe Biden. He's the best at the game. They took him out. They
did take him out.
They made a coaching decision. They put him on the bench. They put not a rookie, but kind of a third stringer to kind of replace him at point guard.
Yeah, well, and I see football. It's someone who's been hit in the head too many times. So she's a little addled. Well, either one.
But he still performs.
He still performs, yeah.
Right. But that's kind of my point, which is when every QB, except for maybe Tom Brady, because he seems to just kind of be invincible. But every QB presumably has some degree of brain damage, right? They've been hit quite a bit. The question is not whether you have brain damage. It's how well you execute plays despite having it. And in that respect, Joe Biden, he's kind of like this Mr. Burns, where he has so many ailments, so many things are addling him. His body can't decide what to get brought down by, so he just keeps going. He just keeps going, right?
Yeah.
You ever see that thing in The Simpsons where Mr. Burns goes to the Mayo Clinic? He's like, what am I sick with? What illness do I have? The doctor says you have all of them. And, he tries to show him this this video or this demonstration, physical demonstration, where he's pushing a bunch of dolls through a door, and they can't fit through the door, so nothing can make him sick, and he's essentially invincible. That's Joe Biden.
Wow.
So when people say, do you believe that Joe Biden got 21 or 20 or 18 or 15 million more votes than Kamala, I say yes. Because she was really kind of a terrible candidate, to be honest.
She was so bad.
Yes.
And I felt bad for people who had to prop her up and actually make her sound like she's a viable candidate. Like,
yeah.
I mean, really, can you imagine listening to her talk and having to defend that? I mean, some people, you can hate on Trump all you want. So many people do. But Trump sat there for 3 hours on Joe Rogan.
Right.
And the difference between going on Joe Rogan and going on any other CNN or wherever is that Joe Rogan asks follow-up after follow-up questions. And you go so deep because you have all this time and you learn so much more. Kamala, she could go like an inch deep and that's it. There's nothing there for her to talk about.
Well, because she doesn't have, first of all, there's a lack of maybe general knowledge, general information, but also there's a lack of ideology. Like, I don't think that this woman ever has believed in anything, right? She actually grew up not too far from where I've lived, in Montreal. You know that's where she grew up.
I did not know that.
So every time she's like, my mother was a middle-class woman, she was able to afford a home. Her mother bought an exceptional home in probably one of the wealthiest area codes in Canada.
Wasn't both her parents doctors? Were they
I think
doctors?
they were both academics.
Academics, okay.
They were both
Yeah.
academics. They may have even been, and that's why it's actually kind of surprising, because relatively speaking, I think she must be not quite as sharp as either one of her parents. Like, she seems to come from very smart people.
Right.
And so but then again, you can't really fault her. She was the candidate Maybe she was the spite candidate. You know, after
Right.
they kicked Joe Biden out, he said, "Listen, I know you know you got to run. I'll leave, but Kamala's sitting right next to me. I recommend you run Kamala."
Okay, so I just remembered what I was going to say earlier. So, Joe, do you think at the end there, Joe had a couple of gaffes?
Oh, the garbage.
The garbage thing and the weird thing where he gritted his teeth and said, "Those guys, what did he say? I'm gonna slap them on the ass." Did you hear that?
I didn't
Did
hear
you
that
not
at
hear
all.
that? Oh my gosh.
I
It
saw,
just happened.
I saw on Twitter this guy, the guy who killed Osama bin Laden, was telling all these I don't know if they're gay or 12. I don't know what's going on with these guys. Harry Nilsson. He was telling them all that they were going to be his concubines. I know you're not referring to that, but
No.
What,
No.
so who was he slapping on the
No, he
ass?
was talking about, he goes, where I'm from, he says something about, he says Trump. He goes, it's someone, and
Smack on the ass.
he grits his teeth. He goes, smack on the ass.
Smack on the ass.
It's so weird. And I look, that and the garbage thing, I'm thinking,
Well, the garbage helps, but the smack on the ass is just he has dementia. I don't know if that's. I think you're reading a little bit too much into
I don't know.
Because what? Because
I've been around you too long. I'm getting this, like, I don't know. I'm not trusting it.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
gonna walk into you in the office. You're gonna be talking to yourself.
Yeah.
You're gonna be talking to yourself,
That could
scratching
happen.
your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But cause I guess my point is, let's play it out. You know, he's gritting his teeth. I'm just trying to put myself in Joe Biden's mind, right? He's gritting his teeth. He's saying, "I'd love to smack this guy on the ass."
Trump. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the implication though? Is it like that Trump is a child, like a naughty child, that he'd like to
I
give a
have no
spanking
idea.
to?
It was just something that, and you think, he said before, I'll take him out, I'll take him out back and rough him up type thing. But but it just came out.
That's what I mean. That's alpha. That's boomer alpha. That's a guy with dementia. He thinks that people are still talking the way they spoke in the 40s. And he's bringing that energy, and you do have to respect that. You do have to admire that.
But it just came out of nowhere. But people were talking about that instead of Kamala. So I don't know. It's just odd.
The other thing is that because the other meaning imbued with the gritting teeth, smack on the ass. Sorry to repeat this. I'm probably going to get us demonetized because I keep repeating the term "smack on the ass," but
Which you just did
which
again.
I did again. Anyway,
What are
just
you repeating?
Censor me out. Just censor me.
He's
We're
repeating
talking about mules.
the words "smack on the ass."
Oh, you gavault. Anyway, with Trump, I think the main thing is maybe it's kind of like how on a baseball team, everybody loves kind of just smacking each other on the tuchus, on the baseball
Now
diamond.
we went to Tuckus now.
On the tuchus, right? I feel like if I do tuchus, it's fine. As long as I put the cha. Put the
Tuchus.
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 Tuchus. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Nailed it. The point is, maybe he was like in a camaraderie, as a friend, he wanted to kind of give him a little, you know
Little
what I'm saying?
something.
Little something. Little motivation.
Yeah.
Like, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, kid. Even though I think they're the same
Right.
age.
I know. To me, it's just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of tension there. I feel like
Sexually, between Donald Trump and Joe Biden?
no, but maybe.
Okay.
You can't ever tell.
Sorry,
But-
I'm just.
no, I meant between him and Kamala because of what happened.
Got
you
it.
know, I don't think him and Jill are happy with what happened.
I love Jill Biden. I just want to say, if Jill Biden were running the country, like, think about the kind of resolve that Jill Biden had, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The entire country wanted her husband to resign. I think her husband must have wanted to resign. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Jill Biden was essentially saying, no, my husband is the friggin' president. You're not going to coup my husband, okay? There are all of these far-right types online. They talk about how Bolsonaro, he could have had these generals who came in. They could have stopped the coup led by the Brazilian leftists, right?
Oh, shit. He's Brazilian.
Are you
Max is Brazilian.
But he's like, are you? But aren't you like ethnically Italian then Brazilian?
I don't know. My dad was full Brazilian.
But but was he from Brazil by way of Italy into Brazil? This is a very specific kind of strange question.
I need to do like an ancestry.com or something.
Yeah.
So we're the only people who got a Brazilian, but he's not shaved.
He's not. What? I don't. Well, you would wax anyway.
The wax, yeah.
You would wax.
Yeah, exactly. But he's got.
By what?
Weird hair.
I seemed angry. I don't know why. Anyway, but but he's clearly has a beard. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
That's his whole
So
thing.
it's not a full Brazilian.
I'm not going to bring anyway. My point is that Jill Biden is a woman of power. My
Right.
full point is that Jill Biden. All right. People say, Trump, he's a strong man. Trump would make this a fascist regime. He would do this, that, and everything else. The issue is that Trump doesn't really, in my opinion, this is just my opinion.
Right.
He didn't accept the results of the 2020 election, whatever. My opinion, the issue was that he didn't have people. He didn't have a legal team. He didn't really have a competent legal team. Even now, with this case in New York, he doesn't take it seriously. He hires this extremely good-looking woman who's not really a competent lawyer. It's like this tragic flaw where he has really bad luck with hiring lawyers because he thinks about, I don't know, seducing the lawyers all the time. It's a very particular.
You don't think she did a good job? I mean, well, I guess he's probably off now. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up
he
with.
can't switch the lawyer out. I'm talking about the felony case in New York.
Oh, okay, I
but
see.
my point is that Jill Biden didn't need a lawyer. Okay, she was a one-woman wrecking ball.
She's like, if anyone is going to dominate my husband, it's going to be me.
You know what? I respect that. Respect.
Yeah.
And listen, the point is Jill Biden has shown more resolve than any of these Brazilian generals, any of these North African dictators that we supplanted. You think Gaddafi, you think Saddam Hussein, yeah, we had to invade the country and so on. But, Saddam Hussein was hiding in a cave when we found him, right? Jill Biden
Cowering like a dog.
And, well, that was...
Yeah, that was the other guy. I just used
al-Baghdadi.
it,
Yeah. Cowering like a dog, but that's a fair point. But Jill Biden, she was basically like Woodrow Wilson's wife after his stroke, right? She was the person really running the Oval Office.
If somebody got a call, if Joe Biden got a call at 2:00 in the morning, there's nukes coming.
What would Jill Biden do?
Jill.
I like
Jill would intercede, I think, maybe.
Listen, between Jill Biden, Kamala Harris, it's not a contest for me.
I agree with that.
I support Jill Biden 100%. You give me Jill Biden or Pete Buttigieg, I'm taking Jill Biden. I can't think of a Democrat that I would prefer to Jill Biden, to be honest with you. Because just the fact that she took on the entire Democratic apparatus on, okay? Yeah, they applied some pressure. They started looking into Hunter. But Hunter, I don't even think Hunter's her kid.
You don't?
Is she
You
not?
heard it here first.
No, I just don't know. Like, I thought that she married Joe after
I
Hunter
don't
was
know.
born.
That's true.
I'm not a conspirator. I just don't know. That's just my base records. The point
Base
is,
records.
Jill is not this biological.
that's what I mean.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Oh,
even
wow.
these pressure tactics didn't work because the person, she's the stepmother. She doesn't care. Anyway, my point is that Jill Biden, she's ruthless. She's Machiavellian. We made fun of her for the Dr. Jill Biden thing. I think that's very funny. It's, a semantic argument. The point is, we effectively have had our first female president.
And it's Jill Biden.
It was Jill Biden. And I just want to say, coming from somebody who lived in Canada, okay, no one's perfect. If you thought I was perfect after this podcast, let me tell you, not a perfect guy. I've got my flaws. I'm from Canada. I grew up there.
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to only tell you now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anyway. But the point is, although we did mention it during the truck bit, but it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, I'm not perfect, okay? But Jill Biden, she's got. There's just sorry, just to finish the
It's a
point
lot
I
of
was
Jill.
making.
There's a lot of Jill happening, and I think he's maybe a little sweet on Jill Biden. I think
I'm
we've come across
I'm
something
very pro
that's
Jill. Sorry, this was my point.
okay.
The strong, we don't listen. Inflation sucks. It sucks to live with inflation.
Mm-hmm.
But you compare the United States to any other country in the G8, any other country in the world with what we're dealing with inflation, everybody else is dealing with even worse inflation. It's a nightmare. And you know who stewarded us through this difficult, tumultuous time? It wasn't the guy who doesn't know where he is all the time.
Right.
Okay? You know who frankly, brought us out of COVID. Okay? You know who did it? Jill Biden. Dr. Jill Biden. All right? So that's this is a right-wing record label, but I kind of admire the fact that Jill Biden.
If you had a big truck,
I like
would
where
you
this is
call
going.
Jill Biden?
Would it go to Jill Biden?
Yeah, would it go to Jill Biden if you went in the truck and you said, "Hey, I want to talk to such and such," it would go straight to Jill Biden. Do you think
It wouldn't even call her. The car would drive me to Jill Biden's house
Wow.
in D.C. or in Delaware.
Based records.
I'll tell you why, because Delaware is way too far.
Yeah.
So if every time I'm trying to make a call and do the doors lock,
Yeah.
I can't get out. Am I able to get out or can I not get out?
I don't think you can get out.
I can't get out. So so let's say I'm calling my wife. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Chloe, you want me to get our kid from school?" And then suddenly, windows go up. I can't jump out.
And you hear something, "I don't think you want to do that, Matthew.
I'm like, what's going on? What's happening?
We're going to Jill Biden's house.
I don't want to go to Jill Biden's house again. I don't want to have to go to Jill Biden's house.
I cannot understand what you're saying.
I don't want to get ice cream with Jill Biden again. I don't want to do
Nobody
that.
said anything about ice cream. But
I can't do this again. Why did I get back into this truck? Why did I get back into this truck? I don't want to have to go to Jill Biden's house and eat ice cream with her anymore.
Error.
Damn it. No. Anyway.
Based records.
Hey, and on that that note, guys, please
that bombshell.
On that bombshell, consider becoming a member and subscribing. We'd love to have you on. We're going to talk a lot more, not only about Jill, but think about that. We got to give kudos to Jill Biden. Also, obviously, if for nothing else than just making Kamala Harris the nominee, setting her up to fail, giving us an incredible landslide victory for the Republicans for the presidency, the Senate, and the House. So, beautiful job, Jill. Beautiful job to President 45 and 47, Mr. Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time from Baste Records.
Yep.
I'm Matt.
I'm Chris, and I think the American people dodged a bigger bullet than Trump did.
Yeah, a bigger, literally.
Yeah.
Because Kamala Harris is a whole adult woman.
Yeah. Are you saying Kamala Harris is
She's larger.
too big?
No, she's larger than a bullet.
Are you defacing a woman?
No, I'm saying that literally a bullet is like this large.
Right.
And an adult
And she's huge.
is larger.
Is what you're saying.
Relative to a bullet, she's much taller, right?
Matthew Azraeli hates women.
No.
That's what
I love Jill Biden. I want to be
Biden.
I want to be driven to her house against my will in a ghost car, okay, that is drawn like in a soul bond. I don't want to be stuck in a Toyota truck that has a soul bond to Jill Biden's Delaware residence. But that doesn't mean I have a problem with women.
Right.
I love women, just not trucks that trap me inside of them and force me to eat ice cream with Joe Biden. Well, I can't be more crystal clear, all right? Human beings are larger than small objects. Like this Coke can, for example.
Right.
Right? I'm bigger than it.
Do you think that Coke can is male or female?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Base records.
Base records.